Let's talk a little bit more about quarterbacks. Packers went from Bart Starr to Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. Cowboys, Roger Staubach, Danny White, Troy Aikman, Tony Romo, Dak Prescott. Colin Cowherd from The Herd with Colin Cowherd points out a couple of more franchises that seem to be able to get the quarterback right consistently.
Kenny Anderson, sorry, I grew up with him. He was good. Boomer Esiason got to a Super Bowl, and I think he won an MVP. I think Boomer won an MVP. Carson Palmer's great. Again, he may have not been the red rifle and closer to the beige water pistol, but Andy Dalton, 5 playoff appearances. And Joe Burrow's obviously great. And they're considered dysfunctional. The crazy Chargers. We were always like, oh, the Chargers. Dan Fouts, unbelievable. Prettiest ball maybe ever thrown by any quarterback, Dan Fouts. Feathery touch. Stan Humphries got to a Super Bowl. He did. Drew Brees had a winning record. Pretty good career. Phillip Rivers, again, borderline Hall of Famer. Herbert, stud. The dysfunctional Bengals, the crazy Chargers. Cleveland? I mean, it is just a barnyard musical. I mean, look at this thing. Tim Couch, Brandon Weeden, a big reach. Oh, good God. Johnny Baker, Brady. Oh, yoy. They passed on Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen for Baker. They passed on Derek Carr for Johnny Manziel. They passed on Russell Wilson. Well, a lot of people did for Brandon Weeden. Oh, boy. It's They just, and I'll be fair, Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, their GM, their coach, they got a lot of good stuff there.
And Quincy, that's how you struggle to win a division since 1989 is because you can't get the quarterback. That also will tell you why you traded 3 first-round picks and gave up what you gave up monetarily to get a guy you thought would end that.
Hey, can we go back to Colin Cowherd acting like he didn't advocate for Sam Darnold in the 2018 draft at #1 overall? Like, not just advocate, strongly advocate was his #1 cheerleader. I like how he was like, yeah, they passed on Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Where were you at with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, Mr. Consistency, right? Like, where was he at with that? Oh, yeah. Who are you pushing for in 2018? Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold. Okay.
Oh, no.
All right, Colin. Yeah, sure. But while it is rich that he brings that up, I do think that there is some level of reason why these teams are able to keep good quarterback play or maintain good quarterback play. And this goes with teams that are able to draft consistently. There is something to keeping your coach that does help you develop football players because you're not constantly changing and churning out a different target for where these players should be. There's one consistent vision for this player from the day he's drafted to the end of his rookie contract of what we want that player to be because you have consistency in the front office and in the coaching staff. I'm pretty sure if you do a study, the teams with the least changes in those areas are the teams that probably have the most success in the draft and that have the most success at drafting quarterbacks because that matters. Imagine if you drafted DTR, fired your coach, now you got a new coach and GM in here who did not like DTR, don't have a plan for his development. How's that player supposed to grow? Right? Say what you want about the Bengals. They don't fire their coach. They don't fire their GM. They've been able to develop these guys at the edges of their roster or with their second-round picks, their first-round picks. The Browns have been living on a prayer hoping that somebody's just going to come in and change everything, but it starts with that stuff, right? You keep your GM, you keep your coach. All of a sudden, it becomes a lot easier to draft, right? What have we seen over the last few years? The Browns been hitting on a lot of different draft picks in a lot of different spots and a lot of guys in their third, fourth year popping up, developing, like Grant Delpit. They're like, oh, yeah, now he's finally reaching his potential. That's because you have kept them in the same building with the same vision for their development for 2, 3, 4 years. And that's going to continue to be the case the longer you have consistency at coach and you have consistency at the general manager position because you need that uniform vision in order for these players to be developed properly. And when it comes to quarterback, that's another position on the football team, just like anything else. The same principles apply. The Chargers, they don't really go in and out of their coaches that much. I think they've had like 4 coaches in the last 20 years, and that might be an overestimate. We know that the Bengals don't go in and out of their coaches. The teams that have a lot of turmoil, firing a lot of GMs, firing a lot of head coaches, thinking they're going to hit a home run with the next one, those are the teams that never hit home runs in the draft. They never hit home runs at quarterback. They never land on a guy like Brock Purdy. Like, those are the teams that don't do it, because when you have that turnover at the positions at coaching and GM, you have a hard time finding players to fit your vision.